Hello! If you clicked on this video, you are likely applying to or considering applying to the University of Calgary's Master of Social Work program. So in this video, I am going to give you an overview of the program, explain the different routes and specializations, walk you through the application requirements, and share some insider tips about what to expect, including the on-campus residencies for online students. So my name is Jessica, and I'm an application advisor with MSW Helper, which is a platform dedicated to helping Master of Social Work applicants complete their applications for the Master of Social Work program. And the support and feedback provided by MSW Helper goes beyond just providing general edits or checking for grammar. It really focuses on the nuances of the social work profession and how to incorporate this nuance into your applications. So if this is the first time that you're hearing about MSW Helper or you would like more information or support, I recommend checking out the MSW Helper website for support, which also includes some free resources. And you can find this link in the YouTube description box below or by going to www.mswhelper.com. And please note that MSW Helper is not affiliated with the University of Calgary. All tips are our own opinion, so please visit the University of Calgary website for the most up-to-date information. So in this presentation, we will cover an overview of the UCalgary MSW program options, course-based versus thesis-based routes, alternative pathways including the post-degree BSW and laddering options, application requirements, what to expect with on-campus residencies, guidance for the program proposal, which is the most important part of the application, the written part, and finally I will share a bit of my personal perspective as someone who has been a UCalgary MSW student myself. So let's get into it. So first, let's take a look at how this program is structured, because it depends on whether you already hold a Bachelor of Social Work degree or not. So if you already have a BSW degree, the program takes 2 years full-time if you choose the course-based option, or 3 years if you take the thesis-based route. This program length is something that is fairly new, but it really allows you to move through the program with more flexibility and time to work if you need to. You'll also choose one of two specializations, either clinical social work practice or international and community development. And within each specialization, you will also choose a topic area, which does change from year to year. The program begins in May of each year, and the program is offered mainly online, but you are required to attend between 3 to 4 mandatory residencies depending on your topic area. Some require attendance in person in Calgary or Edmonton depending on your specialization, and some are virtual, but you will be expected to attend in person on campus at least once, with some specializations requiring twice in person over the course of the program. And these residencies are all day for multiple days in a row, so you want to ensure that when you apply to the program, you are able to attend these residencies as they are required. If you are in the course-based program, you are also required to complete a practicum in your final year, which is usually 3 full days per week. Online courses consist of a mix of real-time classes at set times and learning that can be done on your own schedule. So if you're applying to the BSW program with a non-BSW degree, the program takes 3 years full-time or 4 years if you choose the thesis-based route. So you start with a foundation year that covers the core knowledge and theories of social work before moving into your specialization years. And residencies are also required, and if you are a course-based student, you will complete a practicum in your first year and your third year. Residencies can also be one of the best parts of the program because you get to connect with classmates, faculty, and it kind of helps to build that professional network. But again, they do require planning ahead for travel and accommodations, so keep that in mind. So within both the BSW and non-BSW streams, you can choose between course-based or thesis-based. So course-based students complete all required courses, their practicums, and then a capstone project in the final semester. And this is typically the most common route that applicants tend to apply for and take. For thesis-based students, it adds an extra year to the program, and instead of a capstone, they complete 2 thesis courses and carry out a full research study, which is concluded with a thesis defense. Practicums are optional in the thesis route, and this is typically the route you choose if you want to pursue a career in academia or research, or you have the goal of pursuing a PhD down the road. So the University of Calgary also has 2 alternative routes into social work that are worth knowing about. So the post-degree BSW, this is for applicants who already have a bachelor's degree in another discipline but don't want to go straight into an MSW. So it gives you the foundation of social work and makes you eligible for MSW programs later on. This program is 2 years and gives you a bachelor's degree in social work as compared to other BSW programs that can take 4 years. And then there's the laddering program. So this allows you to start with a graduate certificate in social work. These serve as standalone credentials for practicing social workers who seek formal professional development opportunities in their field, or they provide practicing social workers a flexible option to pursue the MSW degree later on. So students who complete the graduate certificate in advanced social work practice and one of either graduate certificate in clinical social work practice, graduate certificate in international and community development, or graduate certificate in leadership in the human services may apply to the Master of Social Work course-based laddered pathway. And upon admission to the MSW program, students will actually receive laddering credit for the 24 units of coursework completed in the 2 certificate programs. So this is a great option if you want to test graduate level work first, or if you are balancing work and studies and really need a step-by-step approach. And you are required to have a BSW degree to go this route. And I also want to note that you are not guaranteed acceptance into the MSW program with this route, but it can certainly help to strengthen your application. So now let's move into the application requirements. So to apply for the MSW program, you will need a BSW degree or another 4-year bachelor's degree, a minimum GPA of 3.0 on the last 60 units of study, so roughly the last 2 years of full-time coursework, and at least 3,000 hours of paid or volunteer work in human services by the application deadline, and proof of English language proficiency if applicable. And you will also need to submit several documents. So the first is the resume, and they do ask that your hours are clearly indicated for your human service roles. You will also submit the program proposal. So this is essentially your personal statement. It is 5 pages in length, APA format and referenced, and we will go into this more in depth in a little bit. If you are applying to the thesis-based route, you will also need to submit a thesis proposal. You are required to also have 2 referees or 2 references, so 1 academic and 1 professional. And you will submit unofficial transcripts, so official ones come later if you are accepted. And then a departmental information form, which acknowledges WCB requirements for practicum. So let's talk about the program proposal, which, as I've mentioned, is typically the most important written part of your application. The University of Calgary uses this instead of interviews, so this is essentially your voice to the admissions committee and really their opportunity to get to know you. So there are 3 prompts required regardless of which program or which specialization you are applying to. So the first is introduce yourself and explain your decision to pursue an MSW in the context of your personal and professional development. The second prompt is provide an analysis of your area of interest using scholarly literature and your own experience, and explain how the MSW will help you advance in that area. And then the third prompt is discuss your experience and commitment to equity, racial justice, diversity, inclusion, and decolonization. So let's go through each of them and discuss what the admissions committee is really looking for. So in the first prompt, the admissions committee wants to get to know you. So when asking about your motivation to apply to the program, they don't want to read vague statements such as, I want to help people. It's likely that every applicant will have this same goal, so they really want to hear what makes you unique and how your specific personal and professional experiences have motivated and inspired you to be an MSW level social worker. You also want to ensure that you are directly answering what the prompt is asking. So rather than simply naming your experiences and assuming that the admissions committee will read between the lines and see how this could lead to your desire to apply to the program, you really want to be explicit. So tell the reader exactly how these experiences led you to want to be a master's level social worker and work within your specific area of interest. So let's go through an example of a strong statement and an example of a weaker statement related to this prompt. So a weaker statement could be, I want to pursue an MSW because I have always wanted to help people and believe that social workers make a difference. Now, a stronger statement could be, as a peer support coordinator for those experiencing addiction, I have witnessed the transformative impact of creating safe spaces for individuals in recovery, while also recognizing the structural gaps that limit access to care. Pursuing an MSW will equip me with the advanced training needed to bridge these gaps through both direct practice and systemic advocacy. So as you can see, the stronger statement goes more in depth and is more unique to the applicant, rather than stating something vague that could be applied to any applicant, like I am applying to the program because I want to help people. This, you can really see that it goes more in depth in that regard. So the stronger example could still even go more in depth, but I wanted to keep it brief for the sake of this presentation, but I hope it kind of gives you a general idea. So the second prompt is asking about your area of interest, and it's important to really be specific. So include the demographic you wish to work with and the specific area. So as an example, if you want to work in the mental health field, you could discuss how you want to work in an inpatient mental health hospital setting with Indigenous children and adolescents. Start by highlighting the specific area of interest and use literature to support your points and further demonstrate the significance of the underlying social justice issues within this area. And you can also draw from your own personal or professional experiences to demonstrate your understanding of the area. And you then want to discuss why MSW level social workers are needed in this area. And finally, this prompt is really asking how your MSW education will support you in working within your area of interest. So ensure that this is specific to the University of Calgary program. Really do your research on the specific approaches the program uses or what they offer, and draw from this when really answering the prompt. So let's look at another weaker and stronger example. So for the weaker example, I am interested in working in mental health and supporting people who are struggling. For the stronger example, my area of interest is working with refugee families navigating trauma and resettlement barriers. So you can see that the demographic identified in the stronger example is more specific than the weaker example, as mental health is quite a broad topic. You can still use that area, that field, as an example, but you want to have a specific demographic within that to make it more specific. And again, you are asked to provide an analysis of your area of interest, so the more specific you can be, the better. And the final prompt is asking you to discuss your experience with and commitment to addressing equity, racial justice, diversity, inclusion, and decolonization in your practice. Although you can bring in academic sources to support your response, the admissions committee wants to hear your personal reflections on your commitment. So provide specific examples of your experience in working in these areas and how you aim to commit to these areas both in the program and beyond. And I recommend reading the program's statement on equity, diversity, and inclusion to really ensure that your approaches align. So let's go through one more stronger and weaker example. So a weaker example could be equity and racial justice are values I care about and plan to bring into my practice. A stronger example could be collaborating with Indigenous colleagues has shown me the need to decolonize practice, and I will do this by centering Indigenous knowledge systems and advocating for community-led initiatives. It's important to be quite specific here. So rather than just saying these are values that are important to you and that you are committed to this in your practice, you really want to show how and provide those specific examples. So even with the stronger example, you can go more in depth regarding how you will do this. And remember that the program proposal does often replace an interview, so it is your chance to really make a strong impression and to stand out from other applicants as well. So if you're applying to the thesis-based route and have an interest in research, you are also required to write a thesis proposal discussing your preliminary research idea and your methods. And like the program proposal, this will also be up to 5 pages in length. So in your thesis proposal, you describe the research problem you hope to investigate and outline the research methodology or methodologies you are considering. So quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods, narrative, etc. It needs to be written in academic format, so APA or other, and cannot exceed 5 double-spaced pages, not including the title page or references. It's okay if your thesis topic changes a bit when you actually begin the program, but it is important to have a tangible idea to draw from for the thesis proposal. So as someone who was a University of Calgary MSW student myself, I wanted to share a bit of my perspective and experience. So I will preface this by saying that I began the program prior to the addition of a year to each program. So I applied to the program with a BSW degree in the clinical specialization with the topic of individuals, families, and groups. And I also chose the thesis-based route, which meant that I did not need to complete a practicum. And I actually did not get accepted into the program the first time I applied, and I am pretty much positive that it is because my program proposal was not strong the first time around. So I put a lot of effort into this part of the application the second time around and was admitted into the program. So if I could only give you one piece of advice based on my own experience, it's to really put a lot of effort into this and ensure that you are fully and directly answering the prompt questions. You also want to make sure the admissions committee is getting a good idea of your academic writing ability, so that's why it's really good to focus on that part of it. And the program itself, it goes by so fast. I ended up taking a few extra months to complete my thesis year, and it still flew by. And this is why I always recommend that if you want to do this and you have the ability to, you should just apply, because you will have the degree before you know it. In terms of the program itself, the most rewarding part is the connections you will build with your classmates. So most of my program was in person, but I also had some online courses and was still able to build just as much of a connection with classmates in those courses. It really is nice to be able to go through this journey with others who understand what it's like, and you really bond in special ways. And being able to choose a specific specialization and topic area was quite nice because you are taking courses that really align with your specific interest. And this was also valuable because even though I chose the thesis-based route, my specialization year was still clinically focused and prepared me for direct practice. And the program now has even more flexibility than it did when I was there, as it's mainly online and it's a bit of a slower pace, which is great if you have other life obligations. So I highly recommend the University of Calgary social work program if you are considering it. So to wrap up, here are a few final tips. Start early, give your referees plenty of time, and start your program proposal well ahead of the deadline. Be specific and authentic. So vague statements, they won't help you to stand out. Use the program proposal to connect your experiences and goals directly to the UCalgary's program. So I hope this was helpful. If you are applying to a Master of Social Work degree or even just thinking about it, I highly recommend checking out mswhelper.com and joining the free community of applicants who are also applying to an MSW program. And on the website, you can access the free resources, and if you would like additional support, we offer personal statement editing and other services that can support you through the application process. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Good luck!